Hi everybody! I'm back, it's Trey, and today I wanted to talk to you about something that I find to be a terribly obnoxious and consistently integral and central part of the human experience. If it's not dealt with, it's what makes a lot of people miserable. And that's how the archonic and other dark ET forces who think of us as farm animals, that's how they feed on not just suffering, but unnecessary suffering. Suffering that's totally, completely unnecessary for any other reason than for them to feed. They feed on unnecessary suffering. When, as an individual, one finally begins to accept the facts that we really have been atrociously mentally hijacked, repurposed as human cattle, or some other kind of energy battery, psycho-illogical energy for these extremely powerful interdimensional junior god parasites the ancients called the archons. It then soon may become obvious every time you have an accident or a new problem that shows up out of nowhere, especially becomes obvious for a lot of us on this path of awakening and becoming totally aware of everything possible, that they feed mostly on inspiring, instigating, and collecting unnecessary suffering. That's right. If you look at nature, how often things kill each other to survive. They do. But it seems to me it's probably about 90%, 96% peaceful, aside from the animals that need to kill. That I honestly feel that these junior gods probably brought these animals that need to kill here. So I suppose the so-called schizophrenic would be a person who has externalized to some degree, like speaking it out loud, speaking this crazy, insane, belligerent, derogatory stream of abusive, controlling torrents of false self, Wetiko imposter thoughts chained up in their mind to terrify them into beta male, pseudo peaceful coercion, hive mind, chump battery NPC, or a narcissist psychopath controller. The normie modern human condition. Tragically, you know. Few have the courage to see it, and far less to understand the truth. There can be no incurable diseases, no endless wars, no SRA, no adrenochrome and harvest like Lahaina, no 15-minute cities at all, no ability to force the majority to be wage or property tax slaves, no ability to coax humans into permanent 2.0 NPC RC slavery. None of this could have occurred without most of us still being in compliance to the unnecessary suffering. The voices of the Wetiko constantly attempt to impose in your subconscious mind, superimpose on you the fear, the black hole of hell these imposter gods reside in, the place where they reside. One of the stories was that it was a black hole called Abaddon. They're trying to pull us into their death grip vortex. The irresistibility of evil. What is it about the handsome, fully evil, narcissist, psychopath, killer that seduces so many people? The covert narcissist seducer, the fertile cyborg womb, barren of empathy. What will the obedient humanity say yes to be? On the other end of the quote unquote bifurcation, how will you become willing to let go of that stream of archontic evil filth thoughts streaming in at your moments of weakness? There they are again. As you really do the inner work, you'll find, most likely, if you really do the shadow work and the inner work and face your obstacles, that you don't feed the monsters. That when it comes to situations where the narcissist, psychopath, or some other kind of evil controller is trying to assert their way with you, that you are able to maintain, ideally peacefully, your equipoise, your ability to maintain your sovereignty, at least mentally or spiritually and psychologically, or get away from them physically. At your moments of weakness, there they are again, those nasty thoughts. What I published in at least probably about 330 videos exposing and speaking about healing their abuse, well, more doubt, self-hate, fear, stagnancy, all the old habits trying to strengthen. Anika says evil is self-hate. He has no love for himself. As I've said, Lucifer 4 has no love for himself, but he's a master at convincing you not to love yourself. That's why he does it. He wants to bring more people into his hell, psychological hell. And that's how this whole thing was established, through black magic, through sorcery, through the sorcerers that invented it, you know. So he, meaning Enki, has no love for himself, no heart, no connection to the mother, Christ Sophia. Dr. C says narcissism is known by, he considers one of the key features of it to be a lack of love. The person higher on the scale of narcissistic personality disorder becomes a narcissistic predator entity. They get possessed. Okay? The NPCs and NDEs often abet these jokers. So the NPCs and NDEs almost very quite often aid and abet these Joker NPDs and NPEs. A lot of NPs and ND there. So what you'll find, is that normies who just go along to get along, non-player characters will just go along with whatever the psychopath says. And just go along with whatever these Joker imposter gods demand. These Joker imposter gods demand blood and have no respect. The real creator never demands sacrifice. Why would she need to do that? She gave us free will. Her flaw was to allow all of this, I mean, if you want to say that there's something wrong with God or the original creator, well, she cried and flipped out. She tried to repent, but it wouldn't stop. See, the Demiurgos had become very powerful by the time she really noticed it was even going on. For Christ Sophia she allowed it. She repented, but we do not. But do we repent, believing the Demiurge's sick voices are ourselves? Basically, that's the whole. That's a huge facet to the awakening of the individual and the collective, the human game, is to say, eventually I feel like I say we're going to have to get rid of the moon and the whole contraption, all the contraptions that do this shit, and get rid of it. But anyway, that's kind of hundreds of years away probably, but unfortunately. But so maybe not, maybe 10 years away, if I'm being too optimistic or hopeful. I don't know. Will we stop believing the sick voices of ourselves? She gives us the keys to open the gates of this mental cage, psycho-illogical hell realm, which is gnosis. The awareness to know. I am that I am, but the real, what was I before any demands were made by any gods? What was I then? Gnosis, transcendent wisdom, awareness, peace, love, heart, respect. Lucifer 4 lost all of these qualities eons ago. And yet he and his fake king still cling, of course, within our minds, within our own minds, humankind's minds. They needed to dump that chemtrail rain last night. They needed to dump that. They needed to inject geoengineering into the June Monterey Bay fog so that it was cold and white for about 24 days out of the month. 2025 happens not every single year, but often. When they spray into it. Now, why did they have to do that? Why do many people still unquestioningly everywhere, especially somewhere uber sexy like here, pay rents out the wazooski with their mortgages so high, paying with their entire lives? It never stops. Stockholm Syndrome goes way back to the black magic threats to Adam in the garden. Don't eat that or I'll banish you. To toil by the sweat of your brow. To toil by the sweat of your brow. if you eat of the tree of knowing good and evil. The tree of knowing good and evil. Doing black magic like your father. You must then become a slave forever, harvested lifetime to lifetime. Your marital verbal jabs and spats, whether they add up and destroy your marriage or not, are a good snack. When my place is a mess, all of a sudden, I feel a growing anguish rapidly coming on. This quickly led to a feeling of acute overwhelm, as I soon realized the obvious. Oh yeah, I'm an empath. Schizoid man, I'm joking. It's them. The demon archon Overwhelm. I consider Overwhelm to be a chief evil archon, imposter god, coming in to feed. The archon Wetiko, attempting to harvest some loose off me yet again. But this occasion I'm more ready. I recognize the patterns. I recognize that those extremely anxious, rapid, abusive thoughts are not coming from me. I go, oh, there they are. I clean my room and they have no more fuel. You know, it's maybe my Mercury and Capricorn retrograde. When I keep the energy clean, physical space cleared out, I'm safer. If I have every single effing small object I feel I need all exactly in place, like I'm a freaking OCD person, I feel okay. But a mess, or I feel like if I'm in a mess or if I forget something essential, then I'm just feeding them again. That's why I say they love weed. So you know, because always check if you're into that kind of thing. You always check for your keys at least 3 times before leaving your place. Please, like, just make sure you have your keys in your wallet every time you leave somewhere. You know, just stuff like that. Those are the kind of situations I'm talking about in this video. Is just little everyday situations that when you're not paying vigilant, clear attention to what you're doing, it gives the archon or whatever the evil ET, interdimensional parasite you want to call them, whatever name you want to call them, it gives it an in, so that it is a loose farm. It will be that. You see, it maintains itself on your energy, but if I'm able to practice even a smidge of what I've preached here, like to pay the radical level of awareness to my own thoughts, you could stop them. You could stop the feeding, yeah. And so they say the end of war begins within. So every type of arbitrary, voluntary slavery, or con therein, every little extra sick thought, question these. Is that mine? Is that from me? Did I think that? Every line of aluminum dioxide, barium, strontium, and nucleated ice dumped in the sky. I mean, I'm glad it's only 75 degrees right now instead of 96, which it would be. But still. Every single mosquito bite, every time you verbally abuse or get verbally attacked for no reason, every moment you get depressed for no real reason, every moment you identify at all, really, with the false self, Wetiko. There you go. Feeding the buggers, upholding the matrix. Every dogmatic person leads to how much unnecessary death, or at least psychological death around them. every single occasion when I or you still identify the negative imposter self voices as your own, every time you think those evil voices are your own, it can cause, of course, eventually over a lifetime, mountains of unnecessary suffering, psycho-illogical suffering, all for one key reason. This is your rent for the body, if you ask them. You tell yourself, I'll agree with this evil false me, this narcissistic black hole, just this once, just this one occasion. But it's so addictive, it becomes a habit. And as many of us well know, every single addiction can and will be used by the archons every moment they can within to assail your self-confidence, to block your victory or your dream from coming true, and destroy your efficacy if they can. If you allow any kind of addiction, if you allow yourself to get tricked again, I often wonder if people like myself that have used the certain plant to heal a lot, or they worship it, and then when they leave, they have to reincarnate to get high. It's like does that trap you back in because your mental addiction? Every tool that can give you a relief, relaxation, or a repose from your stress or archonic filth mind can also be used by them to further enslave us even in future lives. One thing's for sure, that most of us, we cannot remember our dreams with daily cannabis usage, so that can really, it can mess you up with your dream work. So of course it is all about discipline and discernment, self-love and respect and soul retrieval, because I won't escape if I'm not whole again. If I just preach it but don't practice it, I may remain trapped in the wheel of samsara, lest I learn to be aware to the point that my whole body becomes a ray of light, as Yeshua said. So, however far you've gone on the inward journey, on the inward shadow work, soul healing journey, eventually you come to this obvious point, and the pineapple in your third eye radiates with golden light, and you come to this obvious point, which I have taken to a flaw consequently, on the other hand, and that is this. I took it to a flaw, but hey, it's a good thing to think about anyways. Try and eliminate most of the unnecessary suffering in your existence as you can, because of course you're shutting down the loose production thereof, or a lot of it. Choose, if you cannot yet regain full sovereignty of your thoughts, for example, to realign with Christ by letting go of all the attempted and forced unnecessary suffering as much as possible, and you will not be such a loose fountain. Peace must arise from within the freed. It's a DIY process, whether we like that or not. No one's coming to rescue you or me or anyone, but I do feel that the improvement I've made, that the destroyer angels to mess with me would have to come at me with some more subtle tricks, because you learn, to be able to smell the force of extreme suffering in someone's personality, and protect yourself, to create boundaries. I'm learning. I'm beginning to learn in my 40s, my late 40s, to create boundaries. I mean, But anyways, probably said too much there. But if you enjoyed this and you haven't already, make sure you subscribe on YouTube or follow me on Rumble or Odyssey, odyssee.com for even more tools to help you win the war in your subconscious and get clear of fake concepts that I can't talk about on Alphabet. And as always, of course, my friends, if you have the courage to do so, create a great day. Even when they tried to repurpose this exquisitely beautiful divine being as a hell realm, doesn't mean it's going to be that way forever. It doesn't mean it has been that way forever. No. Maybe 1,000,000 years of this shit, but it's about to end. The only way it's going to end is if we remember, is if the aggregate ends it. The majority becomes enlightened. I mean, I don't know, that's going to take a while, but anyways, happy learning. Loving you, family.